It is a scam when you don't allow everyone to operate on fair terms.
We are the Robin Hoods of sports betting. We take something back from the rich bookies and enable our customers to beat them instead.
G'day everyone, welcome to our FIFA World Cup 2022 live stream on the Trademate Sports Betting Podcast. Today we are previewing the semi-finals, which are Argentina versus Croatia and France versus Morocco. As always, send through your questions, comments, bets you like, all that good stuff. Considering we only have two games to go through, we can get to a few more questions and analyze any bets you guys have got, and the boys will give you their opinions. Top right of your screen, joining us once again, Pro Sports Bettor Neel Shah. How are you, mate?
Yeah, really good, mate. Yeah, how's things?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good. Getting some days rest in between these games now, which is
Nice.
Lovely, mate. And bottom of your screen, Paul from Feinting The Line. How are you, mate?
Going well. How about you guys?
You don't sound like you're going well, mate.
Oh, I'm good. I had a wedding to attend to last night, so I'm a little shaky still today, but I'm getting there.
Oh, mate, come on, pick up your game. We've only got a couple games left, mate. You can do it. I'll start with you then, Neel, mate. Considering you're bringing the good vibes, what did you think of the quarterfinals, mate? Obviously, it's not coming home, but a couple of good games in there, a couple of very boring games. But any thoughts on the quarterfinals in general?
Yeah, I mean, it might be coming home to Marrakesh. Who knows with this World Cup? I of course I was disappointed yesterday, but listening to some of the nonsense on all the radio stations and everyone going for Southgate, I think I don't think we played particularly badly. I just think we were a bit unfortunate. Could have gone another way. Again, just like betting, just like variance. You play that game out 100 times, England probably would have won it. Like a fair amount of those. And again, who's Kane taking that second penalty? That's flying up into stands. I don't think anyone kind of would have foreseen that. It's just, what can you do? So I don't know. I was kind of
like trophies, mate.
Yeah, it was kind of a strange, bittersweet thing because obviously I had my bets on it and it did quite well yesterday on that particular game. But at the same time, with a few of those bets, I wouldn't have minded too much if they'd lost. If England had got a chance to get to the semi-final, but yeah, it kind of makes it very interesting now to see. I think there's no real one sort of strong contender even between Argentina and France. I think assuming they both get through, which is a big if, I think that could be an interesting final. If not to watch, then definitely to kind of figure out where the betting's going to lie. I mean, I've been enjoying it so far, but we're coming to that stage now where there are going to be sort of a lot of tense, kind of nervy encounters. Maybe England, France was the exception because you've got two teams with a lot of attacking talent and question marks over the defenses. When the game state kind of led to it, kind of opening up a little bit. With these two games coming up, not so sure we'll have like a 3-3 thriller in either of them, but you never know.
Yeah. And any thoughts for you, Paul, now that you've woken up a bit, mate?
No, I liked Neel's assessment. I mean, that France and England game was pretty wide open. It's funny because when we recorded the pod, I said I didn't want to advise anyone to take over 2 because I had taken it at whatever I took it at, like 1.68 or whatever it was, 1.7 maybe, and it had come way in to like 1/2 or close to that. And then by the time the game kicked off, over 2 was back at like 1.7. And both coaches had lined up with 4-3-3s. I dipped right back in. So that was nice on the over 2. And I couldn't believe France drifted towards the kickoff too to like close to 1.9, 1.86 was up around pretty within the hour and all towards the game. So I was pretty surprised about that too. But it was a good game. It was a fun game to watch. I actually didn't get to watch too much of it live, so I rewatched it today. But yeah, it was a good game.
Yeah, there's some good games in there. some dull moments, and especially that Netherlands Argentina game until it lit up in the last couple of minutes is just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. We ended up cashing just about all of our bets on that game. I think all of our best bets from the last podcast were on the Argentina Netherlands game. We had over 2. I had plus a quarter of a goal on the Netherlands. It's just hilarious. Also, we all, me and Neel, I don't know, was it you, Neel, that you had Netherlands outright too?
Yeah, they're one of my sort of outright picks. Yeah.
So that was quite funny. It just never seemed to die. And I thought it's one of those ones where I feel like every time you've gone into penalty shootouts this World Cup and you've had the team that probably didn't deserve to win the game, they seem to always win the penalty shootouts. Like Croatia keep winning penalty shootouts. Morocco also. So I thought Netherlands might have a chance, but they were two saved penalties from Martinez, who gave an interesting post-match interview. But yeah, anyway.
I didn't see it. What did he say?
Oh, just bagged the shit out of the ref, basically. And it's just like the Argentinians, let me just say, they did not put themselves in the best light after the game or during the game, really, did they? They really, I don't know, I would assume most people will be cheering home the Croatians after the way they, I guess they represented themselves throughout the game and also afterwards. So, anyway, that's just my opinion. Should we get into it? Argentina versus Croatia, first semi-final here. Odds are 1.82 for Argentina at the moment, draw 3.39, Croatia 5.42, Asian handicap 0.5, and the over-under as low as 2.0. Argentina, although I was bagging them a little bit, they put in a very dominant performance against the Dutch on the weekend, thoroughly deserved to go through in the end after that, ridiculous last 10 minutes of the game. Croatia, on the other hand, consider themselves probably quite lucky once again, another game where they were lucky to come away with the win. I looked at this price and I thought I've been largely disappointed with Argentina this whole competition. But I feel like this 1.8 on the Argentinians is actually not that bad. My issue is, though, the way they handle the last quarter of the game when they're in the lead. I think they've been really poor in that last quarter against Australia, against the Netherlands. They just go full park the bus in the last 15, 20 minutes. And I feel like it does not suit them at all. They've conceded 3 goals in those last, 15, 20 minutes against Australia and Netherlands combined. Australia nearly level with them also in that last gasp opportunity for Mobile. I think that's why maybe it's at 1.8, because I don't know what you think, Neel, but just those last stages of the game, they seem to really want to defend that lead and sit all the way back. And I just don't think it suits them. I think they're a great possession-based team. They're better off having the ball rather than sitting back and inviting pressure, because every time they do that, like Netherlands getting chance after chance in that last couple of minutes, and Australia nearly level with them too. I mean, I feel like they're, I feel like tactically wise, their coach should be, trying to maybe keep possession a bit more in that last stage of the game. What do you think?
Yeah, it's Argentina have been a strange one this World Cup. I mean, to be fair, I guess I haven't watched many of their qualifiers, but just looking back on their results and their form coming into the World Cup was absolutely superb. But then from people who have watched them, they have said that there were some of those games where they were kind of scraping wins, kind of grinding out results, maybe taking early leads, but again, sitting on them, inviting that pressure. And, it was kind of no coincidence against the Dutch, when the Weghorst came on, they were kind of being a little bit more direct and sort of physical, playing some kind of route one stuff. It was kind of causing problems there. A lot of people would argue, say Otamendi is not, it was a weakling. I know Paul's not his biggest fan, but again, they look vulnerable, and they look slow. I think one of the sort of angles on this game, I think it will be looks like it's going to be set up to be a kind of slow paced game. I don't think either team are really going to be sort of pressing too hard from the front. They just don't have the players necessarily to do that either. So there's going to be kind of a lot of the ball being knocked around. But yeah, I mean, in regards to the money line, I mean, 1.82 on Argentina. I wouldn't want to be taking that because, again, Croatia, I can see them potentially sneaking it in full time or just taking it into extra time. So again, I'd want to kind of wait and see how the game pans out. They could make it very difficult for Argentina to break them down, but they have that little man, the genius, who can unlock at any moment. And I think maybe that's where they're at. But then look, Croatia at 5.4s. Considering they've knocked out Brazil, considering they got to semi-final, considering they were finalists in 2018, they played those two games and we, I think a lot of people, at least I did, thought that they'd struggle a bit against Brazil because they'd be leggy because of the Japan game, but they were able to kind of grind it out. So who knows? I think it's going to be interesting. I've kind of avoided anything to do with sort of the main markets on here. So my players is on passes, really. I think the centre backs are going to get a lot of joy. In particular, Lovren, I think his line has actually moved a bit now, but even Guardiola is also worth looking at on overs on his passes. Otamendi as well. Again, I just see there being lots of spells where, let's say, Argentina might keep the ball for 5 minutes, Croatia might keep the ball for 5 minutes. The game will kind of be hard to watch and kind of not a huge amount going on, and the context could be quite good for that as well. So Argentina like to keep the ball, Croatia like to keep the ball, and so yeah, those would be my particular plays on that. And the other sort of play I feel quite optimistic on is Lionel Messi to get at least 2 shots on target, so you can find that on the exchanges. Anything above evens I think is a good price for him to get 3 shots on target as well. So I'm kind of laddering his selections. Again, I think he makes a difference. He consistently gets these. If he may not score, he may set up a few for others, but he's consistently kind of hitting the target. Against the Dutch, I think he had like 5 players around him at one point, and I don't think any other player on the planet would have even managed to get a shot on target. Somehow he did it, and there's a good likelihood they may get a penalty as well, and he won't blast it into the stands like Harry Kane. So yeah, those would be my plays for the game, and then just kind of see how it unfolds. I wouldn't put anyone off. Just kind of putting a small bet on 0-0, at the beginning of the game, trading that out on the exchange, or just kind of leaving it to run, just for a kind of fun bet. If you're going to be watching sort of a miserable, dire game of football, that could be the way to go.
Yep. All right. And what are your thoughts on this one, Paul?
Yeah, in terms of the game odds, I definitely agree with Neel. Just to analyze it a little bit real quick here, a couple closers from Croatia, like Brazil was minus 250 against Croatia. That's probably the best comp you have there. In Croatia, Belgium was 2.39, and on the other side, Argentina at 1.8. I mean, I tend to agree with Neel that I tend to see that 3/4 of a goal on Croatia. The odds have been pretty static since open, but I tend to see, like, if I was going to play this game, which I'm probably not going to have anything official on the handicap, but I would be with Croatia as well. Probably I'd probably take it like as plus 3/4 there at 1.79, 1.78 at Pinnacle, or like first half plus a quarter at 1.8. Like some people like to play first half draw. It might be a good one for this one if you like to play it that way. Just some different options at 1.95. Like I said, I'm not going to play this one, but that if I was going to play it, those are the kind of lines that I'd be looking at. Like the first half draw one, obviously, it's over under 2, so you're expecting not as many goals. Usually the first half would have less goals. especially if there ends up being like odd number of goals in the second half. Like if there's one goal at any point in the second half. So I think the first half draw or like first half Croatia handicap or like Croatia handicap is how I would play it if I was betting the game. But Neel made a couple good points on the passes. The only bet I have out for this game on the props is Brozovic again on the passes. Alex was rightly so giving Neel some nice credit for all his good plays last week, and I even we got the liquid markets right. The props didn't go too well for me. Probably the first pretty bad day there on the stream last time for me, but the one that did hit was Brozovic, and I like him again here. Like he hit this versus Brazil. I think they had close to 50% possession, Croatia. Now that the game state lended itself a little bit to some Croatian possession because Brazil scored first, but it was tied for long enough in the game that I think those possession statistics hold some serious weight. In like last stream, Alex did some good prompting on if Brazil was as much of a possession based team as people really think, and Argentina is not as much of one as your perception would dictate, especially under Scaloni. And last game I had Fernandez passes. That's one of that was my best bet that missed last week or on the last stream. And the reason it missed is because Scaloni played a 3-back, and so it just suffocated any space in the middle of the field for that first entry pass to the center defensive mid. And I don't know if he jives exactly with what the style that their players probably should be playing. Even when they play a 4-3-3, it's kind of tentative for me. And I think the Croatians can latch on and get a good hold of the ball again. I just think they're a little more sound in the dark arts. They might catch a couple fouls from the Argentinians, and I think they can hold on to the ball better than people might perceive. And so I like the Brozovic passes line again because they look to him first. And Alvarez is a pretty good presser, but he tends to press a little higher up, and DePaul is a decent presser, but the other midfielders tends to sit. And so I think Brozovic could get a decent amount of touches here, and I'd have the line a couple passes higher. You can get over 70.5 passes at the offshores and at the Bovada screen at 1.86. That's the best price available. And Bet365 over 71.5. I'd take the same line for a decent stake at one pass higher. I even take the main line up to 74 probably. If I had to give you a cutoff, and you could ladder that up at 365 over 81.5 at 4.33 and over 86.5 at 7. And that's where I'd go with that game.
Yeah, interesting to see in the Brazil game. Brazil are they keep possession of the ball pretty well. That they were actually they lost to Croatia on possession overall, but in terms of XG and shots on target and shots, they were obliterated basically. So
Croatia
it
had one
shows,
shot on target, didn't they?
yeah, one shot on target the whole game, and Brazil had 11. So it just shows that although they do keep possession of the ball, like you were kind of alluding to, Neel, they're a pretty dire outfit to watch. They're just going to, maybe not pass you to death, but, they're just not going to create all that many chances. And the Argentinian defense has largely been very good outside of the last 20 minutes of the game. So, I mean, a play that I was looking at was Argentina to win at halftime, kind of against what you just said, Paul. But just because I think Argentina are a great side. They just I don't trust them in that last 20 minutes to sit back and defend their lead. They had a lead of 2 goals and they still couldn't defend that against the Netherlands. I know it was a freakish way to lose or get a draw in the end, but
yeah, I mean, I think you.
Mate. Oh, you got.
Yeah, sorry. I was saying I think if you like that, if you I just don't like the Argentinian price. I think it's not value, so I wouldn't think a derivative market of its value per se. But if you do like that, if you're thinking the Argentina price is value, Another way, like maybe you could look to play it, is playing the over 2, because if you think Argentina is going to score one in the first half, then there almost has to be another goal in the second half when one of the teams comes out. I mean, that's just my like perception on that. So you almost like, if you think they're going to score in the first half, you almost are guaranteeing a push there on the over 2 line, in my opinion. But yeah. I mean, I just for me, I don't see the value in that Argentinian number. But I mean, the market's been pretty static since open, so I guess it would say, the market would say there's probably not much value either way. But
Yeah, I just think largely Croatia have been pretty defensively poor this whole most of the world. Like against Belgium, they got, they should have at least conceded probably 2 goals there. Got a little bit lucky against Brazil. They were largely dominated and should have conceded goals or more goals there. Japan too, they were outplayed. I just kind of think they're riding their luck a little bit. And Argentina it might be one of those ones where it takes like a moment of brilliance from Lionel Messi to get them the lead. But I mean, he's playing so well, and I think they'll get a few chances in that first half to put one through. And I think 2.77, I think I'm happy to take that, but at least we're getting a variation of opinions here on what we think. Any thoughts on my little halftime play there on Argentina to have the lead, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, thinking about it, let's say if I was to back Argentina, I would look maybe more towards, let's say, half-time draw, full-time Argentina, to get kind of generous odds. Just as, again, thinking Croatia can kind of maybe hold them off for the first half, but then, eventually get undone by a moment of magic where I haven't checked the odds on it. I mean, there's something I've looked at for the France game, but I would imagine it's at least kind of around 4s. For that kind of market, but you never know. I always start off, most of the games I have a little cover position on, 2.5 first half goals, just in case there's sort of a game that just goes mental, and then try and sort of trade back to cover it later on. So who knows? Maybe this is going to be like a 4-3 thriller, and and your Argentina halftime bet's going to be a banker. You never know.
Just to make one more point, maybe, like the best comp like for this one would probably be the last that Netherlands Argentina game, because the over unders at 2. I mean, Croatia, Netherlands is higher rated, but like those teams are, to me, they're not in a totally different stratosphere, you would say, in terms of their output. Maybe they have different talent levels, different strengths, different weaknesses, things like that, but I wouldn't put Netherlands in a different stratosphere, and that line would close like plus a quarter of a goal for Netherlands. Yet Croatia's plus 3/4 of a goal. Is it that half goal difference? Maybe more closer to like plus a half for me, maybe on the Croatia. So maybe you could squeeze a little value there, but that's just where my angle was coming from. Because that game for me would be the best comp, that Netherlands game. Now I think the Netherlands defense is a little bit more open as well than the Croatian one for me. So that's why I like the over in that game more. Like, I'm not playing the over in this game as opposed to that one, but that's kind of the game that I could compare it to best, and where I kind of compared the odds at.
Yeah. Okay. Oh well, I think we've given. Yeah, lots of
I was
different
just
ways.
going to say one thing, because I noticed there's a few of the comments that have come through, seeing as we've only got 2 games as well, like Hitton mentioned about any other safe bets. So I think he's keen on under 2.5 goals and under 9 corners as well. So maybe, you could even double that up. I've not looked into the corner stats for this game. But again, there's potential for it. It might be quite tight. So yeah, I wouldn't put you off maybe putting that in a little double.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go on to the France-Morocco game. I think we've broken that down pretty soundly and given everyone a perspective of, how the game might be played. But I can't trust Argentina at 1.82. I just, in those last 20 minutes of games, I just can't trust them to sit back and hold out a lead. They've continually showed now that they're not very good at that. So it'd be interesting to see if Scaloni does that once again, if he Yeah, and considering the way Croatia can dominate possession, it wouldn't surprise me at all. But let's go to the next one. France versus Morocco. Got France at 1.52, the draw at 4.03, Morocco 7.8. Asian handicap at 1 goal and over under at 2.25. Yeah, Morocco become the first African nation to make it through to a World Cup semi-final with their win over Portugal. The Moroccan wall proving handy once again. And France, as we mentioned earlier, getting past England in a game where they were probably outplayed by England for the most part. But they're just that bit more clinical in front of goal. But you could also make the argument that they gave away 2 really stupid penalties. They're just 2 not really needed. I mean, the first one, Saka wasn't even facing the goal and he gets given a pen. And then the second one, people argue whether it's a pen or not, but either way, it was a stupid thing to do because the ball wasn't going anywhere near Mason Mount. It was just going to go over to the goalkeeper. So you could make an argument too that England were kind of handed, at least 2 huge moments to score, which only one was taken by Harry Kane. But I guess I think one of the big things for this game is if Roman Saiss is going to play, because especially when you've got a man like Giroud in the team who's going to be a major threat in the box, and Morocco are going to be sitting back, and Giroud is, a supremely good header of the ball, you would get very worried if Romain Saiss wasn't playing in this game, and you would think there's at least 1 goal in this for France. So, we'll start with you this time, Paul. I think Romain Saiss is still a doubt. I don't think it's been ruled out or ruled in any way. But, do you think that the Moroccans can hold out for another game?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the France price here, honestly, for this one. So probably not for me. I don't think the Moroccans can hold it out for another game. And like what you mentioned there with Saiss is like a good microcosm, I'd say, of the team. The whole team is probably a little hurt and tired. I mean, people were saying that, 2 rounds ago, and then you had last round, and I just think it's built too much to this point. Now you're playing the best team in the world, and I think we're getting a good opportunity because the market is probably undervalued. And I had said this before. I think I even undervalued them, like in all my calculations and everything. The Moroccan and other African sides' home field advantage in this tournament, like Tunisia and all those kind of sides, they have a distinct home field advantage in this tournament. But at this point, I think that's priced into the market. And at this point, I think the market has probably overreacted for me. There's some money coming, a tiny bit of money is just coming on France, but these odds are pretty much static since open. But I really like the French odds, and I'm going to do another, market type comparison here. So France, their opposition and their closers in this tournament. So they're 1.52, as Alex mentioned, for this game. But their opposition and their closers for this tournament are England at 2.73. They closed 2.73 to beat England. They closed 1.39 to beat Poland. They closed 1.62 to beat Tunisia. With their second side, they closed one. So think about that. They closed 1.62 to beat Tunisia with their second side. Here we've got Morocco at 1.52. They closed 1.8 to beat the Danes, who, although the market has probably overrated them, they didn't know that at that point. So 1.8 against the Danes and 1.22 versus the Aussies. And I know Tunisia aren't the same kind of side as Morocco, but you got to think that's was France's second team. And I just can't see that much difference in the price to 1.52. And you look at the Morocco closers, they closed 1.63 versus Spain and 1.59 versus Portugal and 1.9 versus Belgium. I just think there's more of a gap between France and those teams when you're comparing these closures. So I just think France minus 3/4 of a goal at 1.69. If France wins by 1, you get a half payout. If France wins by more than 1, I'm getting a full payout. If that price is a little bit too skinny for you, I mean, I just think that's major value. I'd take that all the way down to 1.6. But if that's a little skinny for your blood, then I mean, -1 at 1.94 is perfectly fine. I'd have a small nibble also at the first half, -3/4 of a goal on France at 2.98. So choose one of the bigger handicaps and get a small to medium stake down, and then just a little toss in the first half as well, for a little bit less stakes. But that's I also have a props play, but that's kind of how I see the handicap. I really see value in France, and for the same kind of reasons, and because like Alex says, maybe Saiss is out. Aguerd was out last game. He's probably out again. Doubtful. And then Mazraoui was out last game. He might be out again. So you take all these key pieces out of the Moroccan defense. And even though they are a solid unit and well coached and all that, like I said, they haven't played a team as clinical as France, the best team in the world. So I definitely think that for the same similar reasons of why the handicap might be value. I think if you want to get on goals, it might not be the worst thing, because if France were to be winning in the game, Morocco have to come out, and that probably secures you at least a push. Like I said, my preferred play and my official play is the -3/4 of a goal. But the over 2 at 1.69, which has been pretty static since open, I wouldn't push anybody off.
Yep. All right. Nice, mate. Are you on the same kind of lines as Paul, Neel, along the very heavy France lines?
No, I think so this maybe our opinions was kind of diverged a little bit. Am I allowed a brief moment to blow my own trumpet? So I had Morocco to be the best.
As long as you just call yourself the professor at the start and then follow on.
The self-proclaim myself as a professor first. Yeah. So one of my tips was Morocco to be the best African team. At the beginning of the tournament, they were at about 4.33. And part of that was kind of the home field advantage, but I just kind of liked the setup of the team, the new coach. And obviously a lot of fortunes kind of played into it as well. But yeah, I think I definitely see what Paul's saying in terms of how sustainable this is for Morocco to, again, if you watch their games, they have been extremely well organized. They have been very well drilled. Let's say in the last 10 minutes against Portugal, it was nervy, but Portugal never really looked like they were going to get that goal. But this France side, is kind of cut above in quality. They are one of the best out there. Any kind of moment they can come up with a moment of brilliance. I think pre-tournament there was some maybe question marks over France. Again, I wasn't so keen on them. I think a lot of people weren't. Because of their Nations League form and again sort of their ability to sort of break down sort of stubborn opponents. But we've seen already, again playing against the likes of Australia and others, that they can do that. And I think that England game would have given them a huge lift. I think to come out of that game, to have won it in 90 minutes, kind of going into this. But yeah, it kind of you can't underestimate the effect that this kind of home crowd will have. It will be just a huge amount of Moroccan fans in there. This is the kind of the game of their lives, but it's easy to get kind of swept in the narrative. But then Greece won Euro 2004 out of absolutely nowhere with a far worse team. This Morocco team does have quality. It does have talent. The players playing at top European clubs. So it's not beyond the realms of possibilities. I look at that price, and again, if you just blindly backed like the underdogs in every single game in this World Cup, you'd have made a fortune. So again, I'd want to see this in play. One thing I do feel quite strong on, probably would be my best bet of this round, would actually be France on the corners handicap. So you can get the -3.5 corners line, at 365. It's at 1.9. Again, Morocco generally, I don't see them, whatever happens in the game, if they grind out a 0-0, a 1-0, I don't see there being a huge amount of goals. I don't see them necessarily camping out in the French half and beating them on the corner count. So I was quite surprised, looking into the stats for this. If anyone, I'm not going to reel off all of them now, but pretty much Morocco have lost that line in every game. And the French have come either exceeded it or come very close to. So that would be my play. I think it's how the game's going to pan out, and Mbappe to get his 2+ shots on target as well. He had a quiet one against England. Somehow we kind of kept him at bay, but still ended up losing the game. But I expect him again to kind of come back into it. I think with his Algerian roots as well, with the being kind of North African rivals, that will kind of spur him on a little bit. Might get a bit of stick from the fans and wind up a little bit. But that's how I would see it. And the other way, let's say, to get France on side would be, sort of as I mentioned before, so I'd be taking a small position on halftime draw, full-time France. They'll get it over the line, but kind of Morocco's stubborn defending will kind of see them through at least for the first half. That's the way I'd go.
Are there any markets on like someone scoring from a header or a cross or something like that? I think you can bet on set piece goals.
You can get on headers, yeah. You can get on headers on the spread firms. You can get headed goal minutes. I don't think you can bet on someone scoring from a corner, but you can get to score from a header markets. Yeah, who do you have in mind?
Well, I just think, especially if Seiss is out and Giroud, Morocco are going to sit back and just defend the whole game mostly, you would think. And you got someone like Olivier Giroud in there. I mean, Pepe could have had a couple of headed goals to win the game when Seiss was off. I can also see you can get Olivier Giroud to score here at probably around 3s or something like that. I think the game's pretty well set up for him. Unlike someone like Mbappe is probably not going to be given that much space to, run in behind. He's not going to have many opportunities to use his pace and skill to get in behind the defense, or just even if he gets the ball in the box, he's going to have 1,000 people around him. So, I'd be favouring Giroud to score a goal, at least, level kind of terms to Mbappe, unless, obviously Mbappe's on penalties too. But I certainly wouldn't steer anyone away from an anytime goal scorer Giroud bet, especially if Seiss is out. I just think I think we could really be looking at a scenario here. Morocco are knackered. They have been broken the last 2 games. It's been quite funny watching their teams, their players just slowly hobbling off throughout the game and everyone coming on. We really could be looking at a scenario here if France can get an early goal. Morocco concede plenty of, they've conceded lots of opportunities this tournament. I really could see it blowing out, especially if France getting an early goal. I really wouldn't steer anyone away from having a little nibble at France winning by 3 or more goals or 2 or more goals and those kind of markets, because
I think that's the key, right? Because they haven't been in that position yet. So against Spain, against Portugal, we don't really know how they'll react to having to be in that situation.
Have they been down a goal yet? I'm just trying to think. I don't think they've never been behind this whole tournament.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that obviously says a lot about them as a team, but it also who knows? They could look atrocious when they go a goal down because they're going to have to force it. And if they play a higher line and you've got your old mate Mbappe playing the way he's playing, it really, if I was going to play this, instead of playing, -1 on the French, I would more so be looking at having a little dabble on your -2.5s and your -1.5s, because not only they could be really poor playing from behind, they're also knackered. So imagine, tired defenders, trying to chase Mbappe and et cetera, et cetera. So I think if France get an early-ish goal, even if it's like a 60th minute goal, a 70th minute goal, I think there's a chance that it could really blow out. I think I'll probably have a double at that and a Giroud anytime goal scorer or something like that. But what about you've already said your bets for this one, Paul? So have we got any more thoughts on this, fellas? Anything else for the France Morocco game, or are we gonna call it for today?
I got one prop I can give out for the game if you want, Alex.
Nah, it's all right, mate. We'll just we'll call it there.
There it is. Then that's the night.
So you get
Fire away, mate. Fire away. The people are on the edge of their chairs right now.
No, the Europeans will have to take a bow down here because this one's only offshore. It's like closer to like 1.5 or even shorter at most of the other providers. The overall tackles line in this game is set at a massive 38. Over 37.5 is the main line there. 365 and Bovada as well. And with the massive tackles line, I'm going to get a midfielder on side. Salem Amala, the Standard Liège midfielder for Morocco. He does have a good chance to sub, but I like this line so much. All the other midfielders are on higher lines. Yet he's the one with the most ground duels on the of the Moroccan midfielders. And if you look at the comps in the other games, the highest ground duel midfielder for each other team in the competition in the World Cup has clicked the 2+ tackles line. And a good majority, like an overwhelming majority of all the midfielders and comps for opponents against France have hit this line in the competition. So I like Salem Amala at 2+ tackles at 1.77 at the Prop Builder offshore. Any of the offshore sites, Prop Builder, Mom and Pop, PPH is 3+. You can ladder for 3+ at 1.8 at 2.84, 4+ at 5.5, and 5+ at 10.8 as well for some good value. So I like Amala, the midfielder there for at least 2 tackles, and that's my prop for that one.
All right.
Can I add one to that then, just on the tackles? Actually, I'd totally forgotten I had Youssef Nesri as well. So kind of again anticipating that they with Morocco might have to withdraw quite a lot. He's going to not really have much service. He's going to maybe struggle, kick his leg out a few times, and he's hit a tackle in his last few games. So literally just him to get one tackle, you get a 1.83. If you think he's going to get a couple, you get a big price of 4.33 there. Again, whether that comes in or not, but you can see a kind of game state. If you see, for example, Ziyech, kind of the defensive work, that he's been putting in this World Cup, and it's going to be kind of all hands on deck. So that would also be a kind of small play for me.
All right. I love it, fellas. I love it. Let's finish up with our best bets. We'll start with you, Neel, mate. What's your favorite one out of all the ones you've given out today?
Out of all of them, I would say it's the French corners handicap. Unless someone can tell me what I've totally missed here. All the data, everything kind of points to domination in that department. We're probably going to get like one corner now after I've said that, but yeah, that would be the one that I feel kind of most strong about out of everything.
Yep. And for you, Paul.
Yeah, standard disclaimer, I play all the props heavier, but for a best bet, I'll just do one like liquid market and one smaller market just for the sake of the show. So I do like Brozovic the best for the heaviest stake on the passes there. That'll be my best bet. Over 70.5 offshore at 1.86 and at the Bovada game screen. And you can get over 71.5 at Bet365. That's my best bet. And then for the liquid market, I'll go ahead and do France -3/4 at 1.69 or France -1 at 1.94. However you want to play that, that'll be the best liquid market bet for me.
Yeah, good stuff. And I just noticed you can get France -3.5 corners at evens at Pinnacle, Neel, by the way.
Even better, yeah. I mean, that's interesting. I'm surprised. Maybe now I'm maybe a little bit concerned I've missed something from my research.
Oh, mate, the limits are fuck all. Moving. The limits are fuck all. That's why.
I mean, I would take it down to let's say 1.75. But yeah, I mean that sounds a great price to me.
Yeah. All right, good stuff. All right, I'm gonna go the speculator. I'm gonna go France minus. I'm gonna go -2 for France. At I think you can get. I think I just saw 4 or something. 4.7 at Pinnacle -2 Asian handicap. So yeah,
I mean,
See how
that's a big price. Like you say, if they get the first goal, you know, in the first 20 minutes or something, that game gets blown wide open. Yeah. I like it.
And you can get 73,000 Australian dollars on that at Pinnacle of the great Australian dollars. So thank me later for those who are going to go.
We'll be doing
Anchor.
the next podcast from a yacht somewhere in the Caribbean.
Anchor. Get the mortgages down.
If I place that betting at 1, mate, I'd fly straight over to you, Neel, and say g'day, mate. That's what I'd spend my money on. All right, we will be back Thursday, all three of us, for the final preview, and also we'll have a look at the third place preview too, which will be I don't know how you preview a third place game. I feel like it's a really weird game to preview. I can't remember whether teams take that too seriously or not, but
essentially a few angles there. Yeah, absolutely, for people.
That's probably one of those games where it's a bit of a, it's an anomaly, and you can kind of think of random things. It's not your normal kind of game, so there's probably some great betting angles in that. So we'll look forward to that on Thursday night, and obviously previewing the big final, which imagine if it was Croatia versus Morocco. It'd just be unbelievable. It would. I saw something. Someone tweeted, like, imagine like someone telling you when you were watching Croatia versus Morocco in the group stage that this was like the game between heavyweights, the 0-0.
Modric might win the they'd win on penalties, and Modric might win the Ballon d'Or again if that happened.
It would also be my worst nightmare, because I had a position on there to not be a first-time winner. I had a couple of points on that at the beginning of the World Cup, but like quite short odds, so that would be very annoying.
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. But you can find these fellas on Twitter. You can find Paul at Feinting The Line, and Neel at My Bettor Life, and myself at AlexVella_. Thanks for listening, everyone. As I said, we will be back on Thursday night. But in the meantime, please do a quick rate and review of the podcast. Give us a like if you're on YouTube right now. It helps us out a lot. And if you are looking to implement some of the strategies we talked about today on the podcast, start a free week trial of Trademate Sports and start your value betting journey. Gents, I will see you on Thursday night. Enjoy the games.
Yeah, good night, lads. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Take it easy.